I think it's important that we recognize, especially as parents, I know you are, that kids, we do what we can to cope, right?
Yeah.
And there's something beautiful about allowing that mechanism that humans have that we're not able to process, we're not supposed to at that point. But I think it's also really important that an adult makes space for a kid to just have the opportunity to try and figure it out, in terms of what they're actually feeling, even if it's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this, right? That would be an authentic response.
Yeah.
So there's something perhaps in your wiring and your programming that even in the face of, obviously devastating news, that especially in the arena of being with friends, that you feel it's incumbent upon you to, similar to myself, not be a nuisance, not be an inconvenience, not upset anybody. And that does carry a massive amount of weight, right? And again, not planting seeds, but to what degree does that 8-year-old boy even unconsciously think there's something he could have done? Or was it my fault that she died in front of me? Or should I have noticed it and done something? Or, these might be these sort of trickle thoughts in the background, but it's where there could be an overarching compensation that you developed as a man to make sure that, quote unquote, nothing bad happens ever again. You deny a human being what might be necessary for them because you don't want them to feel bad, right? So it's kind of like, as a kid, I can remember, it might seem like a weird analogy. Whenever I was nauseous, I did everything I could not to throw up because I hated it. Like, not that most people love it, but I was, practicing pranayama as a kid and I didn't even know it, because it's the way that I use breath work, to not throw up. But unbeknownst to me, because obviously in that avoidant energy where we're designed to, seek pleasure and avoid pain, I didn't want to throw up. I was actually perpetuating and prolonging the sickness that my body was designed to help, rectify.
Yeah.
So if you were, as a horrible analogy, sort of putting your hand over my mouth so I don't throw up because you don't want me to feel bad, then actually what you're doing is preventing the natural course of events, which is for my body to do what it's designed to do to help me heal or not be in pain. So just as a, invitation to consider that maybe there's something a little deeper for how to look at, which is twofold, right? One, who am I to know whether somebody should or shouldn't experience some suffering because perhaps that's part of their healing journey? That's one, right? The audacity of the ego. And then two, much more maybe profoundly for you, is to see that you can be with other people suffering. Right? Because it's sort of the subtext of that is, one, I don't want people to suffer. Okay, that's kind of a nice part. But there's also a subtler part, which is, I don't like to be around people suffering. A guy, 58, big dude, sitting in the audience. I don't know who's going to say what. Like, I know some of the people because they're repeat customers. They love to come. It's a powerful environment. But this guy I'd never met before, and he was following on from a kid who was struggling with whatever he was going through, sadness, depression, and I helped him break out of that. And the man said, wow, I can really relate to that. And he said, I've just been suffering, I think, for decades and just gotten used to it. And so to cut to the chase of the story, it turns out when he was 8, as a boy with his brother, he had asked his dad if he could take them out just for a fun day or whatever, just to leave the house. So the dad, they got in the truck or car or whatever, and within a 30, 45 minute drive, the dad picks up a girlfriend. And, dad is still married, right? And so here's this 58-year-old kid recounting the story as an 8-year-old boy. And so it's a bit confusing. Anyway, they go about their day, they have fun. And then they come home, and dad said to the boys, just don't tell your mom.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. You can imagine the onus and the weight, that's put on an 8-year-old, not only the confusion, but now the potential shame and guilt that is accompanying that. But anyway, so this now 58-year-old grown man, he says, so I, referring to his 8-year-old self, ran into the house and immediately told my mom.
Oh, wow.
And so what was so powerful about the story and why it relates to what we were just discussing, and I hope it helps not just you, but obviously, the listeners, is he said, of course, his dad was furious. And then about 6 7 weeks later or something, they were going to some fun fair for the day. It was a family, and the boys were in the back, and the dad looked around and said, "We're getting divorced," and sort of gave that knowing look to the 8-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Like, and it's your fault, right? So anyway, he'd been walking around and he's telling the stories about his relationships subsequently, and his dad still to this day, sort of occasionally will make a dig and, make him wrong for shit. And it's really heavy stuff, right? Yeah. And you can feel the sensitivity of this guy. And he said he was married for 12 years. And yet, I helped him see he was never actually in a relationship, because we would think the feeling of guilt and shame was most associated with him snitching and, from his father, which was there, very impactful. Yeah. But actually what he shared was very revelatory, because he said, what happened is I told my mom, and the look on her face, because she was just in shock, right? But also the sheer disappointment, the sadness, the suffering, it was all there in that instant for that boy to witness. And in this group, this beautiful live 200 plus people, he said, I at that moment vowed to make sure that no woman ever has that